Welcome and thank you for joining us as we talk about an expedition cruise today, sailing from Nunavut to Boston in September of 2026. I will be hosting on board for Virtuoso, and I hope you will consider joining us on this wonderful adventure of Northern Lights, polar bears, and migrations. Today, my guest, Kristen from Silversea, is joining us to talk about this incredible experience, itinerary, and this amazing expedition vessel, the Silver Wind. Thank you for joining me, Kristen.
Oh, thanks for having me, Diane. It's so lovely to connect
Yes.
and to have the opportunity to go through what I feel is one of the best Arctic itineraries out there. And I could be biased because I've done it myself. And it covers so much of that untouched part of Canada that I absolutely love.
Yes.
Um, so I'm looking forward to this. The tough thing is going through this
Yes.
because then I'm going to want to join you
Oh, I
on
hope so.
board. Oh man. So to jump in now, Diane, you've done a few expedition cruises yourself.
Yes.
I myself have had the chance to explore the poles, Galapagos over in Northwest Australia and the Kimberley. I love expedition cruising as a concept, as a style of cruising. Tell me a little bit about kind of your personal experiences with expedition, how it makes you feel, where you've been as a
Oh,
jumping off point.
absolute. I will start with one of my absolute favorite things is this is the itinerary you sign up for. However, Mother Nature gets involved, and rarely is it exactly the itinerary you're going to experience. You need to know the captain and the expedition leader and the teams. They will still, whatever plan B, plan C, plan D looks like, this amazing experience is just going to blow your mind. And you just got to go with the flow and just embrace it however it comes. That's probably what I love most about expedition cruising.
I love it. And I have a phrase I like to use when describing expedition. It's experiencing nature on nature's own terms.
Oh, love that.
I think that kind of captures the flexibility of expedition, going with an open mind. Because honestly, as a traveler, the best thing you can do for yourself, especially if it is your first expedition, is travel with an open mind.
Yes.
Because that will help you to really embrace the unknown, the pivoting, the changes. And we do everything first and foremost, safety first, always. And then to give our guests the most opportunistic experience in that moment.
Right.
A plan B doesn't mean it's a worse plan. It means it's the best plan at that time of day. Uh,
Yes.
just so people understand that. So now, just a little bit about us as a company. Silversea, we've been a small ship luxury cruise line for just over 31 years, which is incredible. We've done a lot of pioneering in the small ship luxury cruise space, and we recognized there was an opportunity to kind of combine the world of luxury cruising with adventure cruising. So just over 17 years ago, we realized there was maybe a gap missing in expedition cruising. Maybe you were going more on kind of the freighter ships or the research ships to places like Antarctica and the Arctic. And we thought, why do we need to sacrifice on the comfort and the amenities and the inclusion side of things? Let's create the best of both worlds. And that was where Silversea came into the mix in the expedition cruising world, taking what we already were doing for the last 14 years in small ship luxury cruising and combining that with that true, still off ship adventure, really helping our guests connect deeper with their destinations. Now, interestingly enough, so as a fleet, we're 12 ships in total, but our expedition ships, four of those are what are dedicated to these sort of more off the beaten path style of voyages. But even with just those four expedition ships, they travel to all seven continents.
Yes.
they are very busy ships. They keep our guests, exploring the world through and through. There's always somewhere new to go. Now, when we look at kind of ratios in the luxury world, we're very proud of almost our 1-to-1 crew to guest ratio to really bring that personalized experience into the mix on ship. But in the expedition world, we also pride ourselves on having some of the largest expedition teams and zodiac fleets, because what that allows us to do is deliver all of our guests off the ship at the same time, experiencing the destination. And that could be through a variety of excursions and activities, because we recognize our guests, they have different interests, they have different abilities as well. So we can help cater to our guests in that way. But we also look at the entire journey of our expeditions as well, because we know that, these are not necessarily in easy to reach places that have an Air Canada flight or something going right to it. So we do actually work on not just what the ship is doing day to day, but how are we getting our guests to and from. And that kind of comes into what we are including within the expedition, because there's so much value packed into what we offer at Silversea. So for your particular voyage, for example, we include a charter flight to get our guests from Montreal up to Iqaluit, because it's not an easy place to get to. Airfare is limited and extremely expensive otherwise. So we start our guests at a pre-night hotel in Montreal, get everybody together, to kind of meet, mix, and mingle and get prepared for the charter flight the next day. Then we do that charter flight up to Iqaluit to then board our ship. So you'll get your transfer from the hotel to the regional airport, the charter flight up there, the transfer from Iqaluit airport over to the ship and the kind of port area before then joining the vessel. And then once you're on board a Silversea ship, we are all ocean view suites, most with private verandas. So there's only one suite category that is the beautiful big picture window, but then every other suite category is your own private veranda, which I personally love, and I'm sure you do too,
I do.
Diane, because you never know, at the drop of the hat, the captain or the expedition leader comes on over the loudspeaker and is like, there's a pot of humpbacks on the port side. And everybody just like rushes to the windows or to the top decks or to their balconies. So I always love having a veranda for those moments. Now on ship, we give you, multiple dining venues to enjoy in suite dining. I'm personally a breakfast in my suite person in the morning, sit in my robe, watch them lower the zodiacs while I can kind of ease into the day. We also include all your beverages on board. You get the personalized service of a butler, as well as a suite steward. Some of the things I love are the things that I never think of, that my butler has done for me in the past. So think of like, you've been out, it's been a little chilly, hiking or things like that, and walking into my suite and they've got hot cocoa and fresh baked cookies like waiting for you when you get back. Something I would never think of to ask, but to this day, still one of my most fondest memories of, kind of the service on board. So we also include gratuities, Wi-Fi, although, you don't need to waste your time on social media when you're on one of these voyages. So it's more so just to post some of the photos and make the people jealous that aren't on it with you. But then the magic really happens with what happens off the ship. You know that, I know that, and that's all done with the incredible work of the expedition team. So we include our kayaking, our hiking, our zodiac cruising, our landings, you name it. And sometimes too, we have the ability to work with some of the local operators. Maybe it's doing a local hike with a guide, or maybe a boat tour, things like that. So there is opportunity where we use, the knowledge and expertise of our expedition team. And in some places, we get to marry that up with the local knowledge and spirit as well, which is fantastic. But the expedition team, gosh, they are the heart and soul of everything. So when we're on ship, they walk our guests through kind of a briefing every evening. So here's the plan for the next day. As we say, here's plan A, what we're planning on doing the next day. And they'll do some, lectures and things throughout based on the history, the geography, the wildlife, the landscape of where it is that we're traveling. And then, of course, throughout the day, they are facilitating all of the off-ship delivery as well. And so typically what happens if we are in areas that are uninhabited, and especially in parts of the Arctic where there's, typically high polar bear population, they are out sussing the situation before we ever send our guests ashore. So they'll, position our expedition team kind of around the landing site to make sure that they have 360-degree views, so that if there is ever a polar bear sighting, everyone's connected with walkie-talkies and we can make sure we safely remove our guests from the site. But it's incredible to learn about all of the kind of background that goes into just setting up the lay of the land for the day. Now, when our guests are on board, they will also go through the Park Canada, polar bear training and safety and things like that. And people sometimes think like, oh my gosh, this is overkill. This is never going to happen. I mean, on this itinerary that you'll be doing, Diane, I have literally had a polar bear evacuation on this in one of these exact spots. And it's one of those moments of like, see, this is why we go through all of the safety and the talks. So let's dive into the itinerary. Now, technically for us, we actually start this itinerary September 12th. The cruise itself will start September 13th, but we get everybody prepped and ready to go with a one-night pre-cruise hotel included in Montreal, again, just to get everybody together. Your parkas, your expedition backpacks, your reusable water bottles, all that great stuff that comes included. And then we do, as I said, that charter flight up to Iqaluit. Now, I love that you've named this itinerary Northern Lights. Now, the Northern Lights season is typically kind of October through to March timeframe. But what's fantastic is at this time of year, we are right on the cusp, right on the beginning of the Northern Lights season. And we're far enough north that typically we can have some opportunity, knock on wood, clear nights with the possibility of seeing the Northern Lights. I have seen them on this itinerary from a ship perspective. It is incredible and unexpected. And of course, when I had this experience, they came on the loudspeaker at 11:30 at night. It's like we had just tucked ourselves into bed, and now all of a sudden, half an hour later, the captain comes on and says, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Northern Lights above our ship. And so at that point, I mean, you're in your pajamas.
Yes.
So we're just like throwing on toques and a robe, and we're going up as we are outside to view this phenomena. And I think there's something so special to view it from a ship. It's like your own little floating observatory. So knock on wood, fingers crossed for clear skies, because it can be a very magical moment to be able to view the Northern Lights. Now, we start off this expedition in some of the smaller islands that are just south of Baffin Island. And the reason we are here, so places like Lady Franklin, Lower Savage, what we are on the lookout for is this mammal right here, your polar bear. We like to call this region, so there's kind of three areas: Lady Franklin, Monumental Island, and Lower Savage Islands. And these are sort of your best viewing spots for polar bear, for walrus haul-out sites, for example. So we can get some fantastic potential for these mammals in this region, and why we spend 2 days going throughout this little chain of islands because of this. Now, earlier this season, we also experienced a great population of beluga whale as well. Now those ones are a little bit more elusive. Can't promise those, but that's kind of just the beauty of this region of the Canadian Arctic, a high opportunity for marine and different land mammals as well. Now, we'll get a variety of experiences on this itinerary. So Akpatak Island, the word Akpak is the Inuit word for the thick-billed mirror. And there are kind of nesting areas on this cliff face in the millions for the thick-billed mirror. We'll also get some guillemots here, some gulls. We tend to use this region as a zodiac cruising experience. If there's one word of advice I say, just don't look up and have your mouth open at the same time. Just the one little tip of advice. So we can, the nice thing is we can get the zodiacs very close to the shoreline to be able to observe all of the nesting, birds along this cliff face. A lot of the migratory birds pass through here as well. This can also be a peak area for spotting polar bear, for seals, for whales as well. When it does come to polar bears, I mean, if we do spot one along the shoreline, we are, of course, always maintained at that safe distance, whether we're in a zodiac, whether we're in a ship. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't want to disturb their natural habitat or their way of life, and vice versa. We need to keep our guests safe as well. So I do always recommend, especially on these Arctic itineraries, if you have a pair of binoculars, do bring them along with you, because especially too, even just from a zodiac, if you want to get a bigger view up to some of the higher parts of the cliff to view the birds, it's always a great thing to pack with you when you're on an Arctic itinerary. Just a look, and so you can see this is just one photo of birds passing by our zodiac. So you can imagine, I mean, just the sound of it alone, because they tend to travel in really large groups, it's phenomenal. Now we get into a couple days in one of my most favorite spots in the world, and I have had the opportunity to travel to a number of fantastic places throughout our world via an expedition cruise. And one of the most favorite things that I always come back to is Torngat Mountains National Park. Now we are here for a couple days to do some exploration cruising, some hiking, things like that. We'll visit Saglik Bay, we'll go into Nakbak Fjord. Again, it's just stunning scenery. I mean, and it's in our own backyard, and we don't realize, I think, oftentimes that this exists. Now, Torngat Mountains, they tend to get less than 600 people a year in terms of tourism. So imagine how special this feels to be there on our intimate ship and get to have this in-depth experience all throughout the region. And again, fantastic. High probability for polar bear viewing as well. Now, this is a photo, actually, my husband took it. We are in our zodiac, obviously a safe distance away. But he created this beautiful zoom in of the photo because you can actually see the polar bear's reflection in the pond that he's standing around, which is really cool. But what's also neat about this region as well is it's one of the few places, well, in the world for one, but in Canada, where you can actually also have the black bear in the same areas. So polar bear and black bear don't usually coexist in the same parts of the world. So that black dot that you see there was a black bear that was roaming not too far kind of down the fjord from where the polar bear was. So it's kind of a neat little, potential sighting that you can enjoy of getting both species of bear if possible. Now we go into a place called Hebron Fjord. It's got a bit of a dark history to it, unfortunately. So this was a Moravian mission community back in the 1800s. It lasted through till about 1959 when the Moravian Church and the provincial government shut it down. They actually forced the communities out to some of the more southern, to relocate to some of the more southern parts of Labrador. And, they weren't consulted about it or anything like that. It was just, no, your life is being shut down here, and we are relocating you. And so what was interesting, I had the chance to go back here in 2022. And there were actually some families coming back. You can see some of the maybe newer structures coming into play. They were granted access back to Hebron and are able to rebuild their home on the original sort of structures that their families owned back in the day. So it was very interesting to get to meet, you know, these people. And I think they are still healing from, you know, this moment in time in history. It left, you know, very, very deep scars, and not a great part of our history, to be honest. But I think what was so fantastic was to be able to meet these locals and to see their resilience and, you know, to come back to, you know, bring new life into this community. And there was a couple that they had been coming back and restoring the church just board by board, you know, shingle by shingle. And it was really, really special to be able to meet them. And they said, you know, it happened in the past. We are the new generation. We are the future generation, to really, you know, kind of make new again and bring the spirit of that community back into Hebron. Now, this was also the place where we had our polar bear evacuation when we were on site. Now, again, not to say that this happens all the time or anything like that. Of the number of expeditions I've been on, this was the only time we ever had it. But again, that's kind of just the reality of you're going with the flow and the spirit of expedition, and why we have, you know, the polar bear guards, you know, waiting and watching constantly, because you just never know. There's all these little nooks and crannies and valleys and things like that they can come from. So safety, again, always first and foremost when it comes to any of our expeditions. Now, we will enjoy a day in Hopedale. This will be more of a community visit with the local Inuit. So we'll have the chance to go to some of the art galleries and see some of their carvings and handicrafts and learn about their way of life, experience a cultural demonstration. It's a small little community, a little bit further south along the Labradorian coast, but a great opportunity again to mix in some of the culture and community throughout this part of Northern Labrador. Now we'll keep going down the coast into Red Bay. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's a National Heritage Site as well for us. So believe it or not, this region was a heavy whale oil production region back in the 1500s. So this is what caused it to become sort of this UNESCO World Heritage Site. So we'll have the opportunity to kind of explore and go deep into that history. There's a museum around this. And there's also a couple of fantastic hiking trails that we'll have the opportunity to do as well. And again, based on our guests, you know, abilities, they can pick which hike is appropriate for them. There's a couple different ones. One might be just over a kilometer. One might be just over 2 kilometers, you know, with our expedition team and some of the local guides as well. So we're really, you know, beautiful landscape surrounding the Red Bay area as well. It's just really stunning in our own backyard. Now, we will spend some time in Grossmorn National Park in this particular point called Woody Point. The funny thing is they relate sort of the rocks that are present here to those very similar to what's on Mars, interestingly enough. And this was back at a point where kind of the tectonic plates of Africa and North America were colliding, and what actually remained was these rocks that stayed above the surface. So there's so much history and kind of study that's going into this and how it does relate to, you know, not being able to support a lot of plant life and things like that, but really a geographical wonder. We will also do a hike to one of the lookout points as an option for guests here as well. And as a third excursion option, we do have the opportunity for guests to take a little boat tour throughout Bun Bay and just to enjoy, again, the beautiful fjord, the towering cliffs surrounding it. I mean, Grossmorn is just such a beautiful, beautiful part of our country. And sometimes I feel there's no better way to experience it than from, you know, a ship, from a Zodiac, from a smaller boat, to really get that kind of upward experience of just how vast and incredible this location is. Now, we'll continue on into Nova Scotia. Now, the funny thing is, I think most cruise ships, they end up in Halifax or maybe up in Sydney. We are going to be in Yarmouth, which I just love that. So we're kind of in the southwestern part of Nova Scotia. And we will be seeing the second most popular lighthouse that is here. I think, you know, if there's any Canadians listening to this, we tend to know of Peggy's Cove, but we will be in Yarmouth, and kind of the lighthouse draw here is Cape Horseshoe. We will also have the chance for you can do a brewery tour if you want. That's part of our excursion offering. We've got, of course, a lobster feast excursion for anybody that is interested. I feel like you can't come to this part of Canada and not experience, you know, a local beer or the local seafood. So just kind of a nice, chilled, laid back day to really see and experience this part of Nova Scotia. Then we head over to New Brunswick, where we're going to be in Grand Manan Island. Now, we're still working out some of the local excursion opportunities with the local guide. So when that becomes available, that will be noted on our website, and anybody who's booked will be able to, we'll get that email about it. But really unique birding area here. There's over like 200 different bird species that can be found. So any bird enthusiasts out there, this will be a true highlight on the itinerary, but also great opportunities for hiking, just for kind of local, you know, walks of the community with local guides, things like that. So it'll be a nice, like, we're not doing mainland. So we're not in, you know, mainland Nova Scotia, or, you know, we're not in mainland New Brunswick. I think I just love this is what I love, is the beauty of expedition, is like going to Grand Manan Island. Like, never would I have ever thought, oh, that was possible to actually do from a tourism perspective. And here it is on an expedition itinerary. And I think that's the beauty and spirit of exploration cruising, is that chance to just go off that beaten path. It's not that far from the mainland, but it feels like you could be a world away, just with what these different islands have to offer. Now, also surrounding this region, because we're in the Bay of Fundy at this point, lots of whale species tend to be in this region. So, you know, the North American right whale, the fin whales, the minkies, the humpbacks. So we can hope for some fantastic viewing there. Now, again, we have to use the word hope and things like that. We can't ever guarantee the wildlife. There's always a joke that goes around, like, what time will the whales be coming by on this itinerary? And you know, I think it's important to understand, when it comes to expedition cruising, we're always positioning ourselves in the best places possible where sightings are known, for whales, for polar bears, for walrus, etc. And that is always the goal and the aim. And our captain and our expedition team always have a keen eye out. They're always on the bridge with binoculars, you know, to make sure that if whales do, you know, come near the ship, or if there is a polar bear sighting on the shoreline, that we are on top of it and can let our guests know. So we go in with lots of hope and fingers crossed. And Mother Nature, to be fair, I've never had her disappoint me. So it's always a fantastic experience, no matter what. And then from there, we finish off in Boston. Boston's a beautiful, walkable city. So maybe it's, you know, of an interest to do a post-night hotel stay there or something like that. But I think what I overall appreciate with this itinerary is you're getting to see parts of Canada, the very few of us, you know, even if for those of us who live in Canada, I mean, half these places incredibly difficult to get to any other way. So it really just gives you that kind of moment of experiencing the rare, the remote, the truly remarkable, from both a community perspective, a wildlife perspective, a landscape perspective, like incredible mountains and fjords. And it really just reminds us what an incredible and beautiful, you know, place that we live. So let's talk about the vessel that will do all the hard work for you in getting you to and from these regions. So the Silver Wind, She is one of 3 ice class ships that we have here. She's meant specifically for these regions. So Silver Wind, she has 274 guests in total. We have 26 team members on the expedition team that support her. The Zodiacs, we've got 24 of those. So again, to make sure that we can get all of our guests off and exploring and enjoying at the same time. From a suite perspective, this is kind of a look at our lead-in private veranda suite. What I love, we have huge walk-in closets, and I always pack way too much, especially when it comes to the Arctic. You know, you always want to make sure you're prepared with layers, your thermals. You know, I sometimes travel. We do give you the parka, so don't worry about that. That's covered. But I come with a lot of extra stuff when I pack. So I appreciate the walk-in closet that's available. But just again, fantastic offering of you can get your choice of pillows. We bring you a little, you know, pillow menu that you can choose from. You've got those nice fluffy bathrobes and slippers, and you know, coffee maker in your room, and your butler can keep your refrigerator stocked with whatever you like. So if there's a certain type of wine or beer or, you know, just pop or things like that, they're always there. And of course your Wi-Fi, if you need it, but you won't, because you'll be so distracted by everything else. And an interactive media library. If there's one thing I do appreciate, you know, because oftentimes we can have long days, busy days, you get a lot of fresh air, hopefully great sun, and that knocks you out at the end of the day. So I have, in all honesty, you know, chosen not to go to a dining room or a restaurant for dinner and had it in my suite. And then one thing I love, and I highly recommend you ask for this, is the popcorn service in the evening. So sometimes I'll just have a movie night in my suite. And the interactive media library, there's a whole host of different, you know, new and you know, kind of classic movies that you can watch. And they actually deliver you popcorn, like in the traditional movie container popcorn. You can get sweet or savory. Anyways, just those little moments that I love. And it, again, helps you to tailor your experience while you're on board. Because again, it is all about that personalized service. They want to make sure that every moment of your trip is taken care of from start to finish, on board and off ship as well. Now, Silver Wind has 4 restaurants available. So we've got our main restaurant where breakfast, lunch, and dinner are served a la carte. So that's always available. We've got the grill, which is located just outside on the top deck by the pool area. We do have heaters and blankets as well, because we do recognize, you know, we're in a chillier part of the world. So that's kind of, you know, at lunchtime, think of like your burgers, your hot dogs, kind of all that comfort food. And then in the evening, you know, your fantastic steaks, all of that kind of stuff. La Terrazza, this is a kind of a multi-course, multi-cuisine style buffet for breakfast and lunch. And then for dinner, it turns into our Italian style restaurant where you can get all those fantastic savory pastas and things like that. And then we have La Dame. This one's just open in the evening for dinner. It is our French themed specialty restaurant. So this one does come with a charge of $60 per person. So if you're celebrating something, maybe a birthday, maybe an anniversary, something like that, it can be a nice little experience. You can have the whole caviar, you know, tasting here if you like. You can go through like a 6-course tasting menu with pairing it with your wines and all that. It really is a lovely experience. Or again, if you're not, you know, feeling it, you can always have your meals served in suite whenever you need the downtime and things like that as well. So the Explorers Lounge is kind of our main hub of where the expedition team is going to deliver the briefings, their lectures, things like that. Tons of seating. It's actually a double layer theater, or a double height theater. So you've got some great balcony seating and some lower down seating as well. And there's a couple just great, fantastic lounges that you can slip away, have a quiet moment, read a book, enjoy the view. This is the observation lounge. There's, you know, self-serve coffee and tea available here. And then we have our panorama lounge, which does have a bar included or attached in it as well. And it's also got some outdoor seating, which can be so great and enjoyable to spend, you know, an evening out there with a glass of wine and enjoying the sunset and things. What I really appreciate about Silver Wind is there's so much outdoor space.
Yes.
And that's so pertinent when you're in a place like the Arctic because, you know, at any moment there could be some whales, there could be some polar bear sightings. So there's never any crowded moments of everybody fighting for the same deck space in order to get the shot, you know, on their camera. There's opportunities to be at the bow. There's opportunities to be all along the sides of the ship, at the back of the ship, on your private veranda. There's so much deck space. It really is such a pleasure to be sailing in these regions on this ship. And then for any brave souls, if you want to take a dive and go swimming, you can absolutely do that as well. We do also try on our Arctic itineraries to work in a polar plunge. Obviously, safety first and conditions and things like that. So not just the swimming pool polar plunge, but the actual polar plunge in, our local surroundings. So if there's a moment of a appropriate spot and safety, we do try and offer that for our guests as well. But I have enjoyed the hot tubs quite a bit, especially when you are in these regions. It is nice, after a long day, just to come and maybe soak those sore muscles from the activities that you've done throughout the day. But that brings us to the end of just sort of the Northern Lights, the polar bears, and the migration. It makes me want to go. Diane, I'm already jealous of you. And don't be surprised if I show up on the itinerary.
I hope so. I hope so. Oh, thank you so much, Kristen. This was an amazing presentation, and I welcome all of your questions. Whatever you're thinking, is this for you? You've never done an expedition cruise, or maybe you have on a different company.
Yeah.
Talk to me, ask me the questions. Let me get you the answers if I don't know them. It really is such an amazing way to experience this part, especially of Northern Canada, the Arctic, places that you honestly would never get to any other way. And this is truly off the beaten path, bucket list, adventure things. And you will meet other like-minded people that friendships form and you'll be friends forever and maybe even traveling together in the future. The people you meet are all there because they are interested in this sort of activity and nature and being outside and learning. And it's just incredible. Every night when maybe we're all in the bar for cocktails, whatever, and people are pulling out their phones. What did you see today?
Yeah.
What did you see today? It is just such a different experience than, a regular luxury cruise. This is very much about camaraderie and sharing those experiences together. And so I think you've captured the whole feeling so well. I am so looking forward to this. And it is truly my privilege to be able to bring this to my clients and those that will be joining us on board.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Diane, for the chance to share this incredible itinerary. It is just such a special, special place. And I think if you're looking for that next Arctic itinerary to enjoy, this is a unique one because we
Yes.
do this at the end of every season. So it is a one-off itinerary,
Yes.
which makes it even more special and unique. So I
That's
really
right.
hope that you'll get the chance to join Diane on board. And I hope I get to join you too.
Oh, thank you, Kristen. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Take care, everyone. Thanks again.